Here we are. Oh, man, NPR is so damn biased. Man, it's unfathomable, yo. It's crazy. Like their stuff is just rotten. But anyways, here you go. Like so, NPR did a story on the chick from the Gamergate, and they just posted the Anita Sarkeesian bullcrap about getting the school shut down. Well, just because the school wouldn't infringe upon people's Second Amendment rights to have open carry, and they kept asking the same dumb question like, why aren't you restricting people from having their guns? Like the cops are like, we can't do that. What do you want us to do? But anywho, I listened to both the stories, right? Both segments, right? This is how biased NPR is. So a couple months ago, NPR did a story on the big men's rights movement thing that happened in Detroit, and I would say at least half of the whole. It's only like a 6 minute clip, like the ones that I'm about to play after this, but they spent just as much time, in my opinion, slightly more, with someone trying to refute what was going on with the men's rights movement. They had the typical, leftist white feminist dude talking about how misogynist and blah 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 and all that other stuff. But that's my point though. They actually gave two opinions though. They let people from, Paul Elam, they played a clip from Karen, all that, but then they went into the people who refuted it or who don't agree with it, whatever. These two clips from right that I'm about to play to you, all you hear from is them and everybody from their side of the argument. So if you're the news, why did you not, Sarkeesian's been refuted thousands times on YouTube. Even I think like little 14-year-old boys have been on YouTube refuting whatever her name is, Sarkeesian's videos. Yet you couldn't find anybody, or you didn't allow anybody to have an opportunity to challenge that in your news clip. That's just crazy how biased they are. But in the video or the article about the men's rights movement, you gave a lot of folks a chance to refute or combat or give a different opinion, which is whatever. But I've been saying for a long time that gaming isn't. I never did a video about. I did one video about the gay dude or he she whatever who did a review of GTA, and that was like a year ago. Not even a year ago. It was not. Yeah, it was about last year. It's a couple months ago, and it was right there from the get-go. It was a lot of backlash because the gamers was like, quit putting this PC political correctness stuff in gaming. And this she did a review about GTA, saying that it's not enough gay protagonist, or it's because he's confused with what he is or what he's not. It's not enough positive women role, all that other nonsense, right? Even though the entire game is a parody and it's making fun of society as a whole, but that's not even the point. I just think it's crazy how, we're watching, like I've been saying it for a while, it's like TV, books, media like that is all been, taken over by leftists. Hollywood is liberal as hell. They put all their views in, Elysium, that movie was beyond biased. Nick of Time with Justin Timberlake, like they're making movies towards blatantly like it's propaganda. And I don't have a problem with them doing it. I have a problem with conservatives not challenging those ideas and using their own resources to do that. But they're doing it. Now, I'm saying gaming is the next thing where they're going to try to do that. They're going to be quotas pretty much. And, well, you did so many guy character games, and now you got to do a couple girl characters. You got to have, a gay midget, one eye, one leg, you know what I mean? Like, you got to do all that now. Once they get their way, that's what it's going to look like it's going to be. But I just think it's crazy. Gaming is here, and it's not. The funny thing is the way they're doing it is a lot of these simp dudes, because I'm reading the comments from this NPR piece, and they're all like, her work is, talking about Anita, her work is fine. It's nothing wrong with it. Why are you guys so angry? And then it's like, all these, even some chicks were in the comments like, yo, her work is bull. We want to play games. We don't care about the gender. Leave it at that. And then the first thing someone says, well, she got death threats. Like, what the freak does that have to do with the fact that we just want to play video games? We don't care about the PC nonsense. And like I said, man, once they get in there and take it over, watch the group, the dominant male group who supported it to made it what it is today, they're not going to be there. They're going to walk away. It's like every time females invade male-dominated spaces, the culture changes, and men typically walk away from it. But I'm going to play these two clips to listen to how biased it is, and I'll probably upload the clip later, do a video about NPR's covering of the men's rights situation and what happened in Detroit, and just let you hear how they allow separate opinions and different at least the debate was on there. Like you can listen to that segment, even though it was to me negative, and have two different opposing opinions. Whereas in these stories, and they've covered the gaming situation a lot. I got Isha Murphy, the token black chick that was on Friends. She's had a bunch of bullcrap to say. So it's more to come to this. I'll do a couple more videos on this topic, but check out these two clips.
Vicious threats. Sarkeesian was scheduled to speak at Utah State University on Wednesday. The university received anonymous death threats, massacre threats, actually. That's never swayed Sarkeesian before. This time, though, she canceled the event because police said they wouldn't stop people from bringing their guns, citing the state's concealed carry laws. Anita Sarkeesian found out about the threats when she landed in Salt Lake City.
I eventually got on the phone with the police at Utah State University, and they informed me that they were going to check, not allow for backpacks and have additional security there. And when I asked them about Utah's concealed weapon laws, they informed me that they couldn't do any kind of screening for weapons, which was a little mind-boggling to me because the threat received was very reminiscent of sort of copycat killers of these, misogynist massacres that had been done previously. And so they said, I was like, well, can you at least, have metal detectors or pat-downs? And they refused to do that. So I declined and canceled the event because I felt like that was too high of a risk to put me and the students in.
Now, this is not the first time you've been threatened. Can you talk about how you've been receiving threats recently?
Yeah, well, since I announced that I was going to be doing a video series specifically looking at the representations of women in video games, I have been attacked and ultimately terrorized for 2 years because of this series. So everything from, my social media accounts flooded with misogynist and racist slurs to trying to hack into my, my social media and email.
And people can go online if they want to get a sense of this because these threats are really, they're vile, they're specific, they're the things that we couldn't read them on the radio, couldn't even come close.
Yes. Oftentimes there are very specific rape threats, which are highly illustrative, that are also connected to like my home address or like attacks on my parents and my colleagues and their families as well. And I am not the only woman being attacked right now in games. There have been a number of other women who are fearing for their lives and leaving their homes because they're receiving threats as well. So this is actually a larger problem within the gaming community right now.
So what is it with the gaming community that gets to this level of nastiness and misogyny online?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot.
I am sure.
And it's a really good question that I think is pretty complicated. But, one of the things is that in some ways, there are some men who have gravitated towards gaming culture because they've been rejected by sort of this larger alpha male culture. But the problem with that is that gaming allows them to sort of fulfill that role of the alpha male role, right? The macho testosterone kind of posturing that you get in a lot of these sort of big AAA games.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're actually kind of re-perpetuating that alpha male culture by attacking people that they perceive to be weaker than them. So they're going after women, they're going after queer folks, they're going after trans folks, and especially anyone who speaks up and is critical in any way, about gaming.
Can you give us a little bit of the critique, as you've made it, of video games?
Often women are framed as helpless, or they're prizes to be won, or they're highly sexualized sort of male fantasies. The other piece of this, too, is that there's an enormous amount of violence against women that's used in these games, oftentimes just as sort of set dressing, just like in the background, these women are hurt or beaten up just to make the world seem more gritty. These representations are really harmful to women, and so, we're asking for better representations and better stories, having more female protagonists that are like full and complete characters.
Anita Sarkeesian created the media criticism site Feminist Frequency. She joined us from member station KQED in San Francisco. Anita, thanks so much.
Thank you.
We also reached out to Tim Vitale. He's the executive director of PR and marketing at Utah State University.
Hashtag on Twitter, a banner under which people could collectively argue, vent, or attack an idea or an individual. In Gamergate's case, That individual was Zoe Quinn.
I'm Zoe Quinn, and I'm an independent game developer and community organizer.
Quinn has been actively involved in the video game industry for a while, and she's part of a growing demographic in that industry. Developers and designers who aren't making the next Call of Duty or big-budget role-playing game.
I basically make weird little games that are about feelings, so not the traditional sort of game where people usually think of when you say video game.
Quinn's most notable game is called Depression Quest, a game that simulates the experience of having depression through multiple-choice text. And Quinn unwillingly sparked the Gamergate debate. A few weeks ago, a spiteful ex-boyfriend accused her online of sleeping with the game's journalist, implying it garnered her better coverage for Depression Quest, a charge Quinn denies. What followed, though, was Gamergate, a huge backlash of people taking to Twitter, YouTube, and online forums, many using the allegations against Quinn as proof that there's ethical corruption in video games journalism, that game developers and game journalists have grown too cozy. Others labeled Quinn as a so-called social justice warrior, a woman who isn't interested in games, just in promoting herself and her ideals by challenging video games' traditionally male-dominated culture. And that's where things got ugly. Horribly ugly. Quinn was flooded with death threats, rape threats. Her personal information, even photos, were hacked and posted online, forcing her to leave her home.
It's like the internet is eager and waiting for a reason to be a total scumbag to you, at least if you're a woman and you're a loud, outspoken woman.
Quinn says she was surprised by the vitriol, and she wasn't.
It's happened to other women in the industry. Like Anita Sarkeesian has been basically living this for the last 2 years.
Anita Sarkeesian is a video game critic who looks at the way the video game industry portrays women in games. In video blogs, she talks about the roles women characters play, the damsel in distress, the goal to be achieved, or darker roles.
How sexualized female bodies often occupy a dual role as both sexual playthings and the perpetual victims of male violence.
Are you here for the whore?
In the last few weeks, with Gamergate going, the backlash against Sarkeesian's critiques got so bad, she had to leave her home too.
It can turn your stomach pretty quick.
That's Adam Saltzman. Saltzman runs a small game company in Texas with his wife. They both watched appalled as the backlash spread from Quinn and Sarkeesian to other women and men in the industry who offered their support to the two women. Now, Saltzman believes the attackers were and are emboldened by the anonymity of Twitter and online forums like Reddit and 4chan. And he says they're not representative of the gaming community overall.
The people doing the most harm are absolutely a vocal minority.
But their attack still worked. In an email from Germany, independent games designer Andreas Zecker says they caused a, quote, brief but unbearable silence because people were afraid of becoming the next target. To show solidarity, Zecker wrote an open letter decrying the harassment and saying that everyone, regardless of gender, has the right to be a part of the video game industry. The letter gained nearly 2,500 signatures, many from prominent names at AAA game studios like Rockstar North, Naughty Dog, Bungie, and Ubisoft. There's still a question, though, of just why or how a handful of allegations at a small games developer could spark such a huge firestorm in a multi-billion-dollar industry. Lee Alexander is a video games journalist based in the UK.
What I think is going on is that there's a cultural spasm happening that nobody expected, that accompanies the sort of mainstreaming of video games and the diversification of video games.
Alexander is talking about games like Candy Crush or Words with Friends, games that are now on smartphones and tablets, accessible to a far wider range of people, not, she says, the traditional boys' club.
And, I think the conventional audience is really shaken up. I think in part because they're sexist, in part because they're used to, being explicitly catered to as a precious special market demographic. And they feel like they might get left behind.
Alexander's is just one of many theories, but most agree the industry is changing. The question is whether that change can happen in a more civil way. Nathan Rott, NPR.